name is Chef Yves Dechaine, and today we're in the Greener Village's Learning Kitchen with Jim Middleton, local Fredericton artist. Thanks for joining me today, Jim.
Thanks for having me, Yves.
Today, Jim, you're going to show us how to make lentil burgers. But before we do that, Jim, tell me a little bit about yourself. Why art? How did you find art?
From the time that I was really young, I was heavy into drawing. My mother loves to tell a story about me going to preschool assessment and them asking me what I like to do, and I said I like to draw, so I'd be like 4, 5, and he asked me to draw something for him, and I don't know what I drew. The assessor would not show my mother what I drew, but he asked me what it was, and I said Leonardo, and he said I was right. So I don't know if I did a little stick figure Vitruvian Man or something that kind of resembled the Mona Lisa, but yeah, it was something that stood out to him, that he recognized it. I mean, from the time that I was really little, it was always people, faces. I traced Archie comics when I was really young, drew like a fiend. I still have friends from middle school, from elementary, junior high, high school who have drawings that I gave them. Still kept going in my 20s, and then, life, work, kids, bills, it got pushed to the side. I just kind of settled into regular work because, art can't sustain you. That was kind of what was drilled into my head. And then quite by accident, everything changed in 2018. So there was an art battle here in Fredericton. And I have a very good friend who knew that I drew. And an artist dropped out 2 days before the event. Her name is Esther Vaswani. Esther reached out to me and said, Jim, can you come paint? So I wanted to help my friend, but I also didn't want to look foolish. So I found a video online of, it wasn't even a tutorial. It was a time lapse. It was an artist, and I'm like, hey, they're a good portrait artist. And that's what I liked. I like people, right? So I'm watching him paint and pausing. And I got like basic paints, and I'm kind of painting along with him. And I try that several times over. And in art battle, if you're not familiar, you have to paint out of your head. You have 20 minutes while the crowd watches to paint something with no reference. And then the crowd votes on a winner. 2 winners from round 1, 2 winners from round 2. There's like 6 in each round. And then they go into the finals. So yeah, I can't believe that, like, even just saying yes is what changed everything. So I went to the art battle, went into my round, and I won my round and went to the finals.
Fantastic.
The first time I ever painted. And it kind of turned on that art switch again. There's something about color, I think, because I spent most of my life in pencil, ink, charcoal, it was all black and white, that once I had color there, it excited me, it got my passion back up for art, and I wanted to learn this thing, painting, as quickly as I could. I mean, I was in my 40s at the time, and I'm like, I need to, I'm not getting any younger, I want to learn this. So I gave myself the challenge of 100 paintings in 100 days.
Okay.
Which I did, and then that turned into Art a Day for a year. So I got featured on the news, there's some stuff around that, and it just has grown to the point over the last 5 years that for the last 2 years, this has been my full-time job. So I do commissions for people. So people get me to paint their kids, their pets, whatever it might be. I do live painting events. I also teach classes. So I work with the SD Art Group, and we do after-school classes for kids, and I do adult classes. So people can come in and learn how to get from A to B, and I'm really, it's the Fredericton art community has been so embracing and so amazing, because the best thing to do is just get out in front of people, make them aware of your art, let them know that this is me, this is what I have. Not everybody's going to like it, some people will. But I get to meet a lot of artists. Before I started painting, I couldn't have named one artist in the city, and now I know 60 or 70 that have been so kind, so helpful. So the way I try to give back is I started my own podcast to help new artists that want to try to go from, okay, I can't make a living on this, you know what I mean? And they think it's impossible, to kind of walk through the steps. It's kind of a limited series now. I only have maybe 12 episodes out, but I've had a lot of people asking me to do it again. I actually had somebody at Art on the Bridge last weekend came up to me and said, thank you. I've listened to your entire podcast series. It really helped me get things started for my art, because I cover everything from, how do you price your art? How do you get in front of people? Where should I showcase? Like, how do I even get started?
What do you call your podcast?
My podcast is called Flying by the Seat of My Paints.
Absolutely, right on. And it's apropos, right? If you've come to it naturally and you've kind of found that. So how do you find inspiration, or what do you lean towards? I've seen a lot of your stuff.
Yep.
And so how do you choose a subject?
I'm a very big fan of Mary Pratt and Norman Rockwell, who are captured moments people. So I look for moments of captured life. So I'm inspired by water, light, and life. See a lot of bright colors in my work. So for me, seeing things that are like a little snapshot of the day or of a scene or a moment, that's what inspires me. My most recent painting was one of my daughter, that she just made a goofy kind of selfie up close of her face with some light catching it. It was gorgeous.
I know, I saw that the other day, and I mean, it's wonderful, and it looks just like her. Yeah, you're right, you've captured her personality just in that little spot. Now, to buy a piece from you might be a little bit more expensive, but I know that you also sell prints,
Yeah.
and you kind of shrink them down to make them more accessible to everyone.
Yes, and I believe art should be for everyone. That's something that I learned, you know, when I started at the old Northside Market, that having $5 magnets, having $30 prints in a frame or $20 in a board, it's an impulse item. You know, not everybody's looking for a couple $100 or even $1,000 paintings, you know, but if they enjoy my art and they want a piece, they might take that home and then think about it and look at it and go, you know, I think I might get Jim to paint this for me. You know what I mean? And that's what I've found is, in order to make art sustainable, you have to have a lot of revenue sources. If you're not a known famous artist that, you know, one painting can make your year.
One of your paintings kind of is kind of famous. There's an author who took one of your paintings for a book cover.
So anybody who knows, I have one painting that is not for sale, which is a Gord Downie. So I painted Gord Downie. It was not a common shot in a blue jean jacket, and it's quite popular. It's my most popular print. It's my most popular magnet, and it's very personal to me. You can always come talk to me about it in detail, but I've said it's not for sale. Somebody tried to buy it for his mentor in Toronto. I said no. He offered a lot of money, counted out a couple $1,000s on the table. I said no, but I said for half that I'll paint you a new one. So I painted him a new Gord Downie, very famous shot in the black t-shirt in one of the final concerts, and he took it away, took it off the stretcher bar, sent it to Toronto, forgot about it. And then I got a call from HarperCollins because they wanted my permission, because his mentor in Toronto is Canadian author Robin Sharma, who has over 20 million books sold, and it's hanging in his writing room. And he wrote a chapter in his latest book called The Everyday Hero Manifesto about my painting, and put underneath a symbol of mastery that inspires me daily. And I know that part of that is about Gord, and I hope a little bit it's about me.
It's a beautiful painting, and you can see it hanging at the Northside Creators Market, can't you?
You can, and actually you may see it soon at the Tipsy Muse, because it's going to be showcased down there for a little while. I know there are some music events coming up, and they've asked me if I'd be willing to display it, so yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. We'll be back after a few messages to make some lovely lentil burgers with Jim. Welcome back to Easy Eats. Again, we're here with local artist and chair of the Northside Creators Market, Jim Middleton. And Jim, you're going to show us how to make a lentil burger.
Yeah, I've got a very basic recipe that works for me, and I'm excited. I know you've kind of chefed it up, which is awesome.
I tweaked it up just a little bit.
That's awesome. Yeah. So for me, as a vegetarian, which I have been for over 25 years, anytime I wanted a veggie burger, I'd have to go with a store-made one, because the texture was always wrong. Anytime I went to a restaurant, somebody made it, or somebody at home tried to make it, they'd be mushy. Flavor would be fine, but I don't want to bite into like mashed potato. So I wanted something that would have that bite and that chew. And I found this lentil burger, which literally, you can go with whatever spice mix you want. You know, you can just stick with salt and pepper, but you can add bouillon if you want to lean towards beef or you want to lean towards chicken. But literally, it's like half an onion diced up and 2 cups of lentils. So anybody who hasn't dealt with lentils before, you know they're very starchy.
Absolutely.
So you need to rinse them pretty heavily with water first, so it runs clear, and then you soak them. So literally 2 cups of lentils become like 4 cups of lentils. You need a minimum soak of like 2 hours, but you can also leave them overnight. So
for those of you who don't know, lentils are a legume. They're a bean, and they're high in protein. So individuals who are vegetarian like you are always looking for a good source of protein, and lentils are a great inexpensive, power-packed piece of protein. So for those of you that are on the budget, lentils are definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's cheap, it's easy, and these are super versatile. So today we're doing a Tex-Mex version of them.
Excited.
But again, you can just do salt and pepper. You can keep it really plain and basic. So let's move forward. Show us how you make your lentil burgers.
Okay,
sir.
so it's pretty straightforward. We literally just need to take these. So these have already been soaked.
Yeah.
After they're soaked, they're rinsed. We literally add these to the food processor. Now with your space here, you could do all, or we could split this into half batches. What do you think with the amount that we have?
Well, let's
here,
just,
Yves?
I mean, it's just you and I here today, sir.
Let's do a half a batch.
Let's do
for
a
now.
half batch
We don't
for
have
sure.
to put it all in. So we've got half the lentils roughly. I'll put in about half the onions, right?
Now, you can use any kind of onion. I just happen to have red onion on hand today. So.
And if you don't want raw onion, you want to use onion salt. If you want to add a little garlic, like a clove of garlic in there, you absolutely can. Then we can add in our spice blend. So you've got a Tex-Mex one ready to go here?
Yeah, just a Tex-Mex. I've got a little bit of garlic powder because, yeah, I do want some garlic in that burger. And then we're adding a little bit of nutritional yeast. So we're giving it that umami, and we're also giving it that kind of cheesy feel that you kind of want, right?
You're absolutely correct. If you add a little nutritional yeast, you'll get that. And your Tex-Mex blend?
Tex-Mex blend, it's a store-bought Tex-Mex blend, but if you're going to make one, it's just a little bit of chili powder, a little bit of chili flake, a little bit more garlic powder, and some oregano.
Okay, perfect. And we're going to add some salt. Decent amount. We got quite a bit in there. And black pepper.
So salt and pepper to taste.
To taste. And this is something that just like when you're grilling them, you can always, adjust that as well. Liquid smoke, you want to add a little in there?
Absolutely. So a little goes a long way with liquid smoke.
very
So
little.
you're just going to give it just a little drop.
So we're going to get loud here for a second. When I mix this, I pulse. So what I'm looking for is a consistency of about,
there you go.
of about a 70% blended.
Gotcha.
Roughly is what I'm looking for. I still want to have some of those bits.
Okay,
like some of that texture, That's just a great food processor. It's better than my old one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is already getting.
So you want that texture. So, and I mean, it's almost kind of looking like ground chicken as you're looking for it. So it kind of.
And I'm excited for you to see how sticky this gets. I'm just going to scrape down the sides a bit.
Okay.
Right, to get some of those bigger ones. Oh, it smells great. You've got a good mix here for spices. That's awesome. So I just want to make sure that any of those bigger pieces up there are scraped down. This is a good food processor, so it's doing the job for me. I'm going to give it a couple more pulses, and then I think we're going to be done.
Perfect. So while you're doing that, Jim, you're the chair of the Northside Creators Market. So let's talk about that.
The Northside Creators Market, currently at 170 Main Street. It's funny because it's connected to my art. So there was a politician in the city who was running for office, and they were running for office on the north side. I don't know where you want to put that, sir.
Just take that right from you.
And so when we're taking these out, I don't know if you've got parchment paper or anything to maybe we can start.
We'll just pop them
on
right
there.
onto
Perfect.
here. Yeah.
So what I do is I try to take like around a roughly 4-ounce ball. You'll find that it's got quite a bit of stick, right? So there was a politician running for office, and the #1 ask from the constituents on the north side was the return of a market on the north side, because we had lost the old north side market.
That's right, yeah.
And that constituent actually was one of the owners of Endeavors.
Okay.
And Endeavors, the art store here in Fredericton, which I highly recommend, great shop. The one person he knew at the old north side market was the artist that was there.
Obviously,
right?
yeah.
So he came to me and asked if I would be interested in resurrecting a market on the north side. So the North Side Creators Market launched. I reached out to 6 other vendors who were very serious about their businesses. We talked about Jeremy, Freddie Bean, that he's one of those folks that was part of the original group of board. And we started this non-for-profit, vendor-owned market. It's a very unique thing in that you don't see non-for-profit markets, certainly not vendor-owned ones, and it's really been focused from the beginning to be like a nest environment for new entrepreneurs, people who want to have, a business of their own, to start at a low price point. And we are very much a family environment, and we share. It's not like, you come in, you pay your money, and you're done. We help vendors figure out how to make their stuff better. Because I know when I started as an artist at the old market, the first 6 months I didn't sell a thing. I sat there and painted, handed out business cards, booked a few commissions, but I didn't sell any of my art because I didn't have those things like, I didn't have those impulse items that people could buy. I didn't have the magnets you mentioned before, the prints.
Absolutely, yeah.
So over time, I figured out, in a market environment, what about my work sells and will work for them. And we do that even now. There's Sweet Tooth, there's a great fudge person, Kathy, and she's been adjusting as she's been going along, figuring out, how do I present? How do I make it look? What flavors sell? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You can, use olive oil or, a little margarine, whatever you happen to, but the big thing for me is a medium heat, right?
Absolutely.
So when you put it on, these are, they're very meat-like in that they stick together. They have good texture, but you want to give them an adequate chance to cook. So when you put them on here, they need to sit for at least 3 minutes before we try to flip them.
Perfect.
So I would flatten them anywhere between 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch thick.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit, and we're going to make lentil smash burgers today.
Okay, yeah, and that's something you can absolutely do.
Perfect. So we'll grab these 2 burgers right here, and we'll get those
You
going.
might want to consider oiling your spatula.
Yeah,
Or if you're using onions, that might work too.
I will, because we're going to make a classic smash burger. So we're going to put a few onions over top like this, and then all I'm going to do is just kind of smash them out.
Yeah.
To the size
because it will
you're
stick to
looking
your
for.
spatula. So that's why I use parchment paper sometimes.
Oh, I see.
Or I
gotcha.
will, so I either oil my spatula or I use parchment paper to press it down.
Perfect.
You can already see nicely here, we're getting some crust already starting.
Some
on
lace,
some of the edges,
yeah.
and some nice lace there on the thinner parts, but giving it a chance to sit. Now I haven't tried it with the onions, and sometimes when I do the smash burger, I'll use like the shaved onions, like super thin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's a go-to for me. And one of the things I do recommend if you're making these and you want to, they're perfect on a skillet, perfect in a frying pan. I use cast iron at home. If you want to have them on the barbecue, you need to freeze them first. So get them in your patty shape, right? Because it's
Absolutely,
soft.
it makes sense because they're soft, and as they're working through, they'll sink through the grill.
Right. So what you want to do is freeze them. I put them between some parchment paper, put them in the freezer, let them set up overnight for the next day, and then take them out and put them on the grill frozen. So while they're thawing and cooking, they're setting up enough that you can actually flip them.
Absolutely. And another cool trick about that, if you want to do them on the barbecue and you're worried about the sink in, a sheet of foil right on the grill.
Okay.
And give that a little bit of a spray,
that's
and then
smart
you
too.
toss it on. It becomes a flat top, just like
never
this,
even thought.
and you're still getting that smoky char and
Very good.
that grill, right?
Nice.
Once it sets up. So there we go. We'll finish up these burgers right after this break. Welcome back to Easy Eats. Again, we're with Jim Middleton, local artist and chair of the Northside Creators Market. Lentil burgers are cooked now. We're just going to kind of set them up and get everything running to build those burgers. And what I usually like to do is I like to grab a nice homemade bun. Northside Creators Market. You've got lovely bakers there that can definitely help you out. We've had her on the show. We've had Amy, the
nice.
short woman's. So she makes these lovely rolls and cakes. Unfortunately, these aren't hers today, but we'll pretend. Okay, so all we do is if we're going straight vegan, a little bit of margarine or vegan butter.
Yeah.
A burger always needs to have a nice crust on the burger. We'll fry that up a little bit like that. While this is happening, Jim, how do you apply, or how can you get yourself into the Northside Creators Market?
You can search it's northsidecreatorsmarket.ca is our website. You can also search for Northside Creators Market on Facebook. Either one will take you to our webpage. One of the very first links is Become a Vendor. We're always looking for new vendors because as a kind of nest environment, we have people who start there, build up, and the same as the old Northside Market. Places like Rocket Burger and Buttercream Dreams, Street Greek, a lot of them all started at the old Northside Market. We've had Saffron Indian Foods, now has their own restaurant. They started with us. Food by Fatou has her restaurant downtown.
In King's Place, that's
started
right,
with us. Oh So Sweet now has a bakery right across the street on Main Street, and they started with us. So it's very rewarding for us to see people get a chance to figure out how their business works in our environment, and then elevate to move on to a brick and mortar location. You know, we have new people that are coming in all the time, like plant people. This is a great time of year for people to come in with plants. You know, we have, and anything that, for me, I always recommend people to think about niche versus transactional.
Okay.
So I'm a niche creator. I make paintings, right? People aren't probably buying a painting every week from me. It's not transactional. George's Pickles, they're going to go get a jar of pickles from George probably every week, right? Or they're going to come in and they're going to buy bread from Amy, right? They're going to get regular things. So you want to think about what you're selling and then understand the market you're selling to. Brian, our woodworker, has beautiful cutting boards and all kinds of amazing woodworking, but that customer may buy a thing and maybe come back at Christmas time to buy another thing. You're looking at different customers each time. So kind of gauging your expectations is what I recommend to people.
Playing on that, what kind of vendors is the North Side market looking for right now?
Right now, we would definitely love to get anybody that has cheese or meat would be great. New vegetable vendors, always looking for stuff like that. We have eggs right now, which is wonderful. Anybody that, anything unique. That's one of the things it's called the creators market. Do something that is your passion, that leans into what you like to do, and bring that to the market. I mean, if it's the same kind of thing, like if we've got several jewelers, and if you have if you make jewelry exactly the same as one of our existing jewelers, then you have less of a chance of getting in.
Absolutely.
But if you are, like we had folks that came in called Necrochet, and it was all crocheted items that were all on the creepy side, like Halloween style. So it was a really fun, funky creativity thing, and they did really well in the market. So follow your passion, because you don't want to just sell something to sell it. You want to, you know, like our Spicy Boys, Dylan, when he was there,
Absolutely,
like him selling his hot sauce, he's passionate about hot sauce. So you want to lean into your passions.
Must feel great to be able to be part of everyone's journey or everyone's story. You had mentioned Dylan from Spicy Boys, who's moved on, and he's selling his stuff across the country now. You've got bakers like Oh So Sweet, the Rocky Lemon.
Yeah.
They've now have their own brick and mortar.
Yep.
We've got some successful restaurants. So how does it feel to be part of their journey, part of their story?
It means everything to me to give people those opportunities, and I want to do more.
That's fantastic. So these burgers are ready. We've got the buns toasted right here. I'm going to slap on a little bit of a spicy mayonnaise because we're going with that Tex-Mex theme.
Nice.
So I'm not a sauce type person, so I go light on the sauce.
Yep.
And then what we're going to do, and a little bit of, like the market, a little bit of a synergy. So I've got this lovely barbecue sauce that I've made with Freddie Bean's cold brew.
Yeah, who's at the market, our coffee supplier.
Who's at exactly. We're just going to paint a little bit of that on, just to give it that burger glossy glaze. We'll give that a couple flips, and then all we're going to do is we'll pop it right on.
Yeah, grab yourself this one, I think, Scott.
That one looks great, doesn't it?
Great, yeah.
So we're going to flip that just to glaze the...
But see how the firmness that it has?
Oh, absolutely. It's got that
texture.
crunch, and it's probably still nice and moist in the middle.
Yep.
There we go. We got that glaze on it right like that. We'll pop that on like this. I fried a little bit of onions during the break because you can't have a burger without a few onions.
Yeah, I totally get that.
There we go. We toss that on just like that, and there we have it. We've got this lovely lentil burger, courtesy of Jim Middleton. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jim. It was great to know about your journey and how you became an artist, and about the Northside Creators Market.
We've got an amazing community in Fredericton. We've got so many great entrepreneurs with ideas, and I love giving them a place to kind of light that spark and get started. So if you've got that and you want to come out to the market and you want to try your idea, come see us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.